Got round to this sooner or later. This is my top 10 favourite albums of 2025. A couple of things before we start. Number one, this is my own personal top 10 favourite albums of this year, so by all means leave your own picks, as I have very niche music tastes and a lot of other genres just simply won't be covered in this list, as you'll go on to find out. And secondly, it is difficult trying to figure out what artist deserves to be in the list proper and which artist became just an honourable mention. And there are some picks which might seem way out of left field, and a lot of this stuff I based around one simple criteria, which is what did I listen to more than anything else. Scrolling past me right now are the honourable mentions. These would essentially be the next 10 albums I would have included, so if you still haven't seen your favourite album, then by all means leave it in the comment section below. At number 10, I have an album which was originally going to be in the honourable mentions, but no, this album just kept on pushing itself further and further up the list to the point where I just had to mention it, and that is In Mourning with The Immortal. I saw these guys open up for Insomnium a few years back. They absolutely demolished them in terms of being an entertaining live act, and I'm glad to report that in the studio, they hold their own. This was an awesome slice of Swedish melodic death metal with a very sort of progressive flair to it, and I'd say even a tad of post-rock, and this mostly comes through with the emotions, which I think whenever you're compiling a list like this, you should always take into account how did the music affect you emotionally, and with this album, there were plenty of those arms stretched out parts scattered throughout this just behemoth of an album. Really was the album that got my craving for melodic death metal this year. Next up, we have quite a therapeutic album, and apologies, but there's going to be a lot of mispronouncing in this video, even more so than usual. We have Cause a Sway with Influx. This is a Danish group, instrumental lot, and I'd say the genres that these guys mostly tap dance around include stoner rock, psychedelic, more heavy psych, I guess. With these guys, they definitely satisfied this end of my listening habits, because usually I have something that's more loose and fuzzed out, and I think out of all the albums that were released this year, whether it be the Bask, whether it be the Avatarium, the Stone Jesus, I think this one stood out the most. And now we come to one of the more peculiar picks on my list. We have Igor with Amen. Now, I've been a fan of these guys since, I'd say, around the time of Spirituality and Distortion. I just love their blend, their chaotic blend of grindcore and just operatic vocals and accordions and electronic music. It's a really bizarre mix and something that isn't for the faint of heart. This is really out there sounding stuff, and that's why it can turn a lot of people off, but I just really appreciate the depths that this guy goes to just create these just spellbinding and really entertaining and downright funny at times sonic soundscapes, and there are some genuine hefty menacing moments on here, but at the same time there are some utterly hilarious tracks like Blast Beat Falafel, featuring the legend himself, correct choice of words there, Trey Spruance from Mr. Bungle. In fact, the guest features, I think, really round out the album, along with Scott Ian of Anthrax. I think there were some fun little guest spots. Now, I'm probably going to get crucified for putting this album this high, and I think 7 is the highest that it can go, but I'm going to go with the Chameleons' Arctic Moon. Now, this is the first album they've released in, close to 24 years? Now, I've been really looking forward to this one, and I'm glad to report that while it doesn't necessarily have the high points of their last reunion album, which was Why Call It Anything, I think that this one definitely feels a lot more streamlined in comparison. I've been really enjoying Saviors Are a Dangerous Thing in particular, and having that be the final track on the album, it leaves you with a really nice taste in your mouth, as opposed to Why Call It Anything, which really kind of ends on a slump. But yeah, I love this album, and I can't get enough of it, and that's really what's pushed it this high up on the list. At number 6 is one of my all-time favourite metal bands, have thankfully come back after a 6-year absence, Helveti with Anu. This is probably, in my opinion, the band to show people if they're not entirely convinced with the style of folk metal. I think these guys do an admirable job of blending that kind of Gothenburg, at the gate style, metallic backbone with some Celtic folk influences on top. They write genuinely emotional, impactful music that doesn't just tend to rely on the gimmicks at hand. They are incredible songwriters, and there is a genuine heft behind it. It's not dorky, drinking, sing songs, and all this kind of stuff that turns a lot of people off of this style of folk metal, let's say. Instead, this is a rich, thematically rich, and just powerful and just genuinely blistering sounding metal album. There is a lot of genuine worth you can get out of it if you are in that sort of sector, but at the same time I think it can still be fairly accessible to newcomers, with the obviously cleanly sung vocals on top and the just the beautiful, gorgeous melodies that you get, especially in the choruses of these songs. It is a real treat for the ears if you're just willing to prepare yourself for just how dense the album can be. At number 5, we have, I'm sorry, yet another old guard metal band coming back and releasing strong material, Paradise Lost, Ascension. These guys have always been solid, but especially in recent years, they've been putting out material that matches the stuff like Icon or Draconian Times. These guys have been really at it and pushing themselves, and really just the influence of kind of post-metal, in particular like Agalloch, with a lot of the melodies that you get, particularly on the first 2 tracks, really is what warms my heart with this album in particular, which is funny because it's a hefty release, it carries a lot of emotional weight, and just leaves you feeling just decimated by the end of it. Highly recommend this, and again, 2025 will, in the end, become like the year that legacy bands come back and just prove themselves to be just as vital as the old guard, and this is another album to prove that. So all of the picks so far have been fluctuating in and out of the list, as you do as your thoughts are formulating and what have you, but these top 4 have been remaining remarkably consistent all throughout. So next up we have Sanam with Samito Sotan. Apologies if I mispronounced that, but these guys combine elements of traditional Lebanese music with industrial noise, and it just makes for a lethal combination. This is very different from a lot of stuff that I have on this list. It's creepy, it has melody, but it's just pounding and sinister, and I implore you to please check this out. This will probably be the most underground pick I have on my list, and all I can say is just give it a listen, go in with an open mind, and you might be surprised. Something I never would have envisioned 2025 holding for me is my returning love of thrash metal, Coronor, with Dissonance Theory. These guys are a Swiss thrash metal band that didn't reach the heights of, say, an Exodus or a Testament or obviously the Big Four, but these guys have a strong cult following and have been absent from the recording game for 30 plus years, and coming back with an album this strong where it truly felt like every single year they were using to just prep on making this album as interesting as possible, really like exploring new territory this late in their career, and coming back with an album this strong was just such a blessing. I would have also given the merits to Testament, and obviously it's an honourable mention, but Testament are usually great, and while the album in question was really good with, you know, all the extreme metal influences that it put in there, it's definitely one of the stronger albums in their latter half of their career. I just couldn't skip past this incredible album from Coroner. Please check these guys out. These guys are called the Rush of thrash metal for a reason. It's technical, it's a tad experimental, but at the same time there is that strong thrash backbone, and it's just genuine bloodlust behind it that just makes it oh so potent. Just please check this out. At number 2 we have my comfort album of the year in Annie and the Caldwells' Can't Lose My parentheses Soul. Now, please forgive me as my knowledge of soul music is quite limited. I obviously love the classics like Curtis Mayfield, and I love some of the neo-soul acts like Salt or Michael Kiwanuka, but I cannot really find anything to compare this album to, at least in my wheelhouse. But all I can say is I love this album. It's incredibly lush, beautifully produced, amazing backing vocals, exquisite performances. Truly was what satisfied whatever soul itch I have, and clearly is a grand departure from the thrash and noise and doom of the other picks that I have on this list. I understand I am a metalhead after all, but please take it as someone who, even if most of my listening habits are metal music, I still adore this album that speaks to its strengths. And my number one album of 2025 is Messa, The Spin. These guys are a doom metal four-piece from Italy who I've had the pleasure of seeing live in Brighton recently. The majority of their set was playing material off this new album. I am happy to report that it does hold up live, and these guys can play. My God, the influences that these guys corral together with each consecutive album have been phenomenal. The last one in particular, Close, which was my introduction to the band, included a lot of microtonal influences, very Middle Eastern inspired. This one, on the other hand, includes elements of post-punk and jazz, in particular in the solos. You have just some gorgeous vocal performances, in particular on songs like Fire on the Roof, what a chorus to that song. Then you have the epic song The Dress, which is this just giant behemoth of a track, one of the linchpins of the track list. Yet the entire album, it doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome. It's definitely the shortest release Messa have done so far, but I think that works to its benefit. It gets in, goes out, and just leaves you wanting nothing more, as it's just such a full picture of an experience. It's like a film in how it paces itself. Then there's the track Reveal, which marries blast beats with some bluesy slide guitar, again, all within a doom metal framework. I know these aren't exactly hallmarks of the genre, and don't get me wrong, I do love doom metal. It's one of my favorite genres of music, but the fact that they're able to just bring together all of these outside influences and not really worry about genre restrictions is what makes this album so compelling, and altogether is what makes this my album of the year. So there you have it, my top 10 albums of 2025. Now, please, by all means, put your own lists in the comment section below. I'm guaranteed that I've probably missed out on some awesome music, as I've just been enamored with the material that I've been listening to. I'm sure you've got some excellent picks that you'd like to share with everyone, and I just couldn't really narrow it down effectively enough, as I just kept on thinking, okay, well, this album also belongs in there, and this album, and so on. Basically, the 10 that I've picked so far are the ones that I think I should just be pushing onto more people. That's at least how I came to the conclusion with my lists. And also down to which albums did I just listen to the most, which ones was I the most eager to spin again. Regardless, thank you for spending the time with me and listening to me just ramble for 10 minutes. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the new year.